This week we are looking at a Part 1 demonstration, and as is common in Part 1, the examiner asks about the candidate's hometown, but something that's a little less common is in this Part 1 demonstration, the entire series of questions is focused on the candidate's home and their hometown. So that's kind of interesting. So we're going to get some really good practice of how to speak about your hometown in today's exercise. Please remember that if you are enjoying these exercises, I really do appreciate you leaving a thumbs up. Let's now read through the questions that the examiner asked the candidate. So the examiner asked, where are you from? Describe the house or apartment you are living in now. Do you have a favorite room? Is there anything you would change about your home? Let's talk about your hometown. Are there any old buildings in your hometown? Can you describe any old buildings in your hometown? We are now going to listen to the full sample, and remember that this is the Learn section of Learn, Try, Apply. So while you are listening to the sample, you should be noting any new language that you come across. And we're going to discuss a few of the language items that I think that you should make note of after we listen to the sample. So let's listen now, and I will talk with you on the other side.
Where are you from?
I am originally from a city 2 hours away from here, but for the last 20 years I have called this city home.
Describe the house or apartment you are living in now.
I live in a relatively small flat. It has 2 bedrooms, a bath, a living area, and a kitchen. There is a park in front of the building, so I get to enjoy the view of trees and flowers from the window.
Do you have a favorite room?
I would say the second bedroom is my favorite because that is where my computer is and where I play video games, listen to music. It is where I go to unwind. It also houses my collection of vinyl records, which is near and dear to my heart.
Is there anything you would change about your home?
I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. Fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat, so I've managed to make do.
Let's talk about your hometown. Are there any buildings in your hometown?
There are quite a few, actually, and they are recognized by UNESCO as having historical significance. Some of these buildings date back to Roman times. I guess you could say my hometown is an open museum, and tourists from all over the world flock to the city to see its sights.
Can you describe any old buildings in your hometown?
Well, the famous walls of the city are some of the oldest structures where I live. There used to be 7 kilometers of stone wall, but now only 4 remain. Soldiers would watch from the fortresses to warn of any invaders coming from either land or sea. Nowadays, locals and tourists visit the walls to see the site, but also to enjoy breathtaking views of the city and the sea below. Okay, so I hope you made a few notes of any new language that you came across. So as always, these samples are scripted by an active IELTS examiner, and I thought some of the phrases that the examiner thought to include here are good little areas for us to review. So at one point, the candidate says that their collection of vinyl records is near and dear to my heart. And so, of course, the phrase near and dear to my heart is used to describe something that's very precious or important or has personal value to the person that is speaking. The candidate also uses the verb flock when they talk about tourists from all over the world flock to the city. And flock is, of course, a verb that is used to talk about birds when they move together. But when we apply it to people, it describes large numbers of people moving together, and it's usually used to describe a happy situation. So when people flock to a new restaurant, this would describe a happy group of people, a large group of people that are going to experience the restaurant. And so here when we talk about them flocking to the city, it's tourists that are coming to enjoy themselves in the city. So it's a verb used to describe a large number of people traveling somewhere. Okay, we are going to now move to the try stage of Learn, Try, Apply. And as you know, you're going to be repeating some sentences in a shadowing exercise. And this week we are looking at this question and the response to this question. and I will read it to you again now. So the examiner asks, is there anything you would change about your home? And the candidate says, I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea, so I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. Fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat, so I've managed to make do. Okay, if this is your first time doing a shadowing exercise, please note that you should be speaking as you watch this video. So you will hear the sample, and then you will be given a pause within which to repeat what you have heard. And of course, the point of the exercise is to try to change the sound of your voice to make it sound as much like the sample as you possibly can. And then when you leave today's lesson in your day-to-day speaking, you should try to be including some of what you've learned in these exercises in your own speaking. So it's a very important step to try to adapt the language and include it in your day-to-day speaking. Okay, we will now go to this week's shadowing exercise. Enjoy.
Is there anything you would change about your home?
I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. I do enjoy my view. I do. I do. I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. A house along the sea. A house along the sea. But I have always wanted a house along the sea. I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. I would probably change the location of my home. Location. Location. Change the location of my home. If anything. If anything. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. I do enjoy my view, but I have always wanted a house along the sea. So I would probably change the location of my home, if anything. Fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat, so I've managed to make do. Fortunately, fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat. Only a few minutes away. Only a few minutes away from my flat. From my flat. The sea is only a few minutes away from my flat. So I've managed to make do. To make do. To make do. So I've managed to make do. Fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat, so I've managed to make do. Fortunately, the sea is only a few minutes away from my flat, so I've managed to make do. I hope you found that exercise helpful. Remember to go to IELTSspeakingblog.com where you can access the full library of shadowing exercises, and we now have over 70 different exercises. So those are samples that have been completely scripted by an active IELTS examiner, a group of active IELTS examiners, and they're a great resource with which to practice your speaking in an IELTS context. So come on over, check out the library, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for tuning in this week, and we will be together again next week for another shadowing exercise.